Susie said there she was confident that she would be looked after in the hospice when she was dying, and it must have been a comfort at a time when you're naturally full of fears of the unknown. And I think really it just encapsulates what the hospice movement is all about. Of course, the first interview that Susie did was the groundbreaking interview on Lifeline, which absolutely shocked the country and then mobilised it, I suppose. I'm delighted to tell you that Joe Duffy is here tonight with us. And Joe, for a change, could we reverse roles and Joe talk to us?
I suppose you wouldn't believe me if I told you I was due to be on the Late Late Show tonight, but I was dropped from the panel. It's true. I'm in great company. I'm dropped from the Late Late. Anyway, it's great to be here in the full meaning of that word in this awful circumstance that we find ourselves here. And I think that's in the back of all our minds as we talk, no matter what transpires here this evening. Someone said to me recently, what is the difference between when Susie went public and now? And the main difference is Susie Long is dead. That's the difference. We should remember that. And for Conor, Fergus and Anya, that is the difference that permeates their lives. All I did, as I said to Susie up in the hospital, all I did was answer the phone. That's all I do in RTE. And Susie's proclamation, which it was, the letter, and I read it and reread it, and it's on the website, and the Tribune published it, and various other publications published it. And the letter itself, I think, is a most magnificent piece. And again, bear with me and I use all these words. It was the most magnificent piece of writing I've come across in a long, long time. It's a proclamation for a new century in Ireland. It has everything in it. It has a commentary and analysis of our society, whether you agree with it or not, but it has a searing commentary and analysis of our society. It has a personal story, and it has humour. There's humour in the letter. Susie analyses her own blaming, and then she demolishes her own blaming. She talks about blame and how we all go through stages of blame when we find ourselves in different predicaments. It's over 2,000 words long, and I think it will stand the testament of time. It is just something that should be studied, read, looked at, revered, even as a piece of writing. I remember, as Conor told us recently, she wrote it at something like 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock in the morning she started writing after she'd seen this ad on telly. I hate the ads on telly as well myself, Susie said. But she saw this ad on telly about go early for the check, and that spurred her into writing this proclamation, which it is. I first came to Kilkenny. I worked in Kilkenny, believe it or not, I know, 30 years ago, just over 30 years ago. Around 1979, 80, I was a student in Trinity College, and I'd been expelled for a few months, and they were completely in the wrong. And Trinity College at the time had some of the finest 19th century minds in Ireland, and they couldn't get used to us protesting. But anyway, I'd been expelled, and then I had to go back. I finished my year as president of the student union, and I had to go back into Trinity and to study, and I was doing social work, believe it or not. I was doing social work, and I needed a placement. And of course, the placement officer was ringing various health boards, and they heard my name. I'd been sent to prison for occupying a health board office over cutbacks in a medical card. Mother of Jesus, what was I up to? But anyway, that's what my mother used to say to me anyway. And they couldn't get a placement for me. I don't know what, they couldn't get a placement. No one would take me for the 12 weeks. But they rang Kilkenny, and they rang the social services in Kilkenny, and they rang Sister Stan, who was here at the time, and Bishop Peter Birch was here at the time, and Sister Noreen was here at the time. And Sister Stan and whoever being who the arse had sent, of course, send them down, there's no bother. So I came to Kilkenny and I went out to the health centre out the road, and my accommodation was just round from Kilkenny Castle in a flat with about 7 other blokes. I thought I was coming down to luxury. Kilkenny City, everyone in Dublin wants to go to Kilkenny for the weekend. I came down and I slept for the 12 weeks on a camp bed, an army camp bed in that flat. But anyway, the great thing about Kilkenny at that time, and this is why I think the hospice thing is going to be good as well in terms of Kilkenny and the vanguard. Kilkenny's name at that time was synonymous with progress in social services. It was synonymous with discussion of social services, new ideas, through the Kilkenny Social Service Council. And it had a great position in our society. And that's why it's appropriate again that here tonight, it's also by chance, of course, that Susie and Conor are living in Kilkenny. But it's appropriate that this campaign, this unique campaign for a small hospice, should actually begin in Kilkenny. And then I was trying to think, because I know when I saw Conor trying to operate the machine and then we're talking about Christmas cards, and you say €5 a pack, and in the same breath, Tom mentioned €5 and 2 million. And he kind of said, Mother of God, how many €5 does it take to make up 2 million? It's an awful lot. And I was kind of saying to myself, I know they have, and we have, a sense of the uphill battle that's ahead in terms of raising money in the country we live in, and the pressure that's on people in terms of different projects or whatever. And then I kind of remembered something that happened to me when, funnily enough, in Susie's home country of the States, around September the 16th, 17th, 2001, because I think the biggest thing that happened Liveline previous to Susie's letter in terms of impact for me was September the 11th, because it happened, as you know, at 1:45 Irish time, and then 10 to 2, and then 2 o'clock, and then the Pentagon was at 2:45 of Susie. But being struck when I went to the States that here was the most technologically advanced country in the world, reduced to their citizens going around in a daze in, we're told, the richest city in the world, putting up these little postcards and photographs on walls, actually saying, have you seen my son? Have you seen my brother? Have you seen my father? These were people missing. And because the whole networks had collapsed, the electricity in parts of the city had collapsed, the communications had collapsed, there were so many people killed, there was obviously an awful lot of confusion. But it was this most technologically advanced country in the world reduced to its knees by an act of terror. And then I came across, there was all messages on these billboards, and they suddenly became a focus for people and people started talking to each other. And then I came across a testimony from a firefighter, Irish, of course, I'd say of Irish. There was 350 firefighters killed September 11th. But he wrote a piece, obviously he survived, he wrote a piece about being trapped in when the second tower came down, and the rubble of the second tower, we should remember, was so high, it was something like 5 stories high. That was the rubble. And he and a group of his comrades were trapped in the basement. And he wrote about being trapped and the sense of desperation, and they heard voices. But it was complete darkness. But he said suddenly he saw, just in the corner of all the rubble, he saw this ray of sunshine, this really thin sliver. And he could see the dust, the flecks of dust. You know, you ever see the flecks of dust in the ray of sunshine? And he said to himself, even though he knew he wasn't going to be able to get out through that gap, the ray of sunshine made him hopeful. Not because of its size, but because of what it had replaced. It had replaced complete and total darkness. And suddenly he had this ray of light, and it was the beginning of his redemption. And he was saved. And I think the hospice thing tonight, and I just want to bring home to people in trying to encourage people to get involved and be evangelical if you can about fundraising. But that the movement that's starting here tonight is that ray of sunshine. It's no bigger than that. And I know the dark nights of November and December and January, February. I know the knockbacks in previous lives when you're campaigning for something and no one turns up, or someone gets sick, or something you were hoping for, maybe a big donation of land or something doesn't come through, and you get a kick in the solar plexus. That is going to happen. That is going to come. And we just got to be prepared for that as well. But the main thing is that that ray of sunshine is now there. And that ray of sunshine was brought into all our lives by Susie. As I was interested, when I read a letter in one of the papers this week, I think it was the Examiner, somebody just referred to Susie, and we all remember Susie. You didn't have to say Susie Long, or Susie from Kilkenny, or Rosie, whatever the name she was. That we all remember Susie. She's become part of our language. Now it's really important as well that she remains part of our language. And when you read the writings of Justine McCarthy here, of how she wrote about Susie and how she managed to capture in those two incredible pieces in the Tribune before and after Susie died, how she managed to capture the spirit of Susie and the nuances of Susie. And every one of us in our own way are going to have to apply our skills, because we all have skills, because we all are that ray of hope. We're not going to be measured by how strong our son is, by how strong the power is, or people's charisma is, or your skills are, or your communications abilities, or your fundraising abilities. What we're going to be measured on in this campaign is on what it has replaced. And what Susie's campaign, and the campaign you're here tonight to participate in, I hope, for the hospice, what it has replaced is darkness. And that's what it should always be measured against. And the darkness is, of course, we have a hospice, and we have hospices in the main cities. But there was a darkness there that there isn't a hospice in Kilkenny and many other counties. And that's what we're replacing. So never, try not to get demoralised. Try and keep the spirit of Susie going, because she kept it going right until the end. Right until the end. And at the memorial, the story was told, and because we should laugh about her, laugh with her and about her, because she was a great sense of humour. But she told the story of one day a visitor arrived up, and Susie was consoling one of the Chinese care staff in the hospice. He was upset because everyone was dying, and he hadn't got fully to grips with the fact, like, this is a hospice, and Susie was telling this and consoling. He came into Susie for consolation. And then the other great story she told was when she was on the chemo and you get this craving for sugar. Apparently she was in the local supermarket. There is a supermarket in Callan, isn't there? There's a centre saw there when I was there. Yeah. There's a Scruffy Duffy's in Callan, by the way. And she didn't know whether she could buy a Kit Kat or not, and she rang a friend of hers and said, is our campaign against Nestle for selling powdered milk for a award, is that on or off? Or we didn't. And the person on the other end says, it's as far as I know, it's still on. Why are you asking me? And then Susie told her she had cancer and was on chemo. But somebody managed to buy Susie a Kit Kat, so she didn't have to buy it herself. But she was full of humour, and that's a Susie we remember, someone who campaigned right up to the end. I remember in her most powerless moment, in her weakest moment, in her body-draining moments of this woman's life. I've only known Susie this year, and I never knew her outside. The only place I ever met her was in the hospice, on those occasions I went up in the last 10 or 12 weeks. But the lesson is that in her weakest, most perilous, vein draining, with drips coming out of her, on painkillers, palliative stuff, not to make her well again, but just to help her bear the pain. In those really weakest moments that we couldn't, that would be beyond our comprehension, she found strength. And the strength wasn't just to, I want to go to Venice, or no, she did go to Barcelona, right? It wasn't that type of strength. The strength she found was to stand up and go public. And that's very, very difficult to go public as well. And she went public in that weakest moment. So all I say to you is, we will have our weak moments in this campaign, but we will be inspired by the legacy of Susie.